Okay, holiday season is over, and we are back to building things for our great community. So let's kick this off in a usual way. We're gonna start with the NeoGo department. As I have talked previously, we now have a bit more resources for N3 development, so in these 2 past months, we have managed to release 2 versions of NeoGo with some meaningful changes. The latest and greatest one is 0.116.0, which is available here, and the main feature of it is, of course, full compatibility with the C# Node 3.9.2 with the Faun hard fork support. This hard fork is enabled on all networks now, so if you have somehow missed an announcement for this version, please upgrade right now. But NeoGo development is not just about C# Node compatibility. We are also actively going through our backlog and fixing bugs. A number of those fixes were delivered in these 2 recent versions. We have also improved our P2P layer to make networks more stable and have improved performance of the Notary subsystem to make it process more transactions per second. Some updates were delivered in the RPC subsystem, some additional APIs added. Overall, we have a good feature packs delivered in these 2 versions. Of course, we are actively participating in ongoing N3 discussions and development, and we are going to be implementing all of the features that are going to be included into the next hard fork for N3. But there is one thing that we are working on more specifically now, and that's the new opcode pricing model. It's expected to be much better than the system we have now, and we already have some preliminary results for it that look very promising. We have managed to make these various scripts run basically in about the same time with the same gas estimation, with different opcodes, different variations of parameters, counts of elements, added, pop to the stack, push to erase, and things like that. It's more or less okay, but we need some more time to make it more simple and to finalize the model for it. Then we expect to propose it for the community and then let the community decide. I think 2 next months are going to be sufficient to finalize this work. One thing we're also actively working on right now is improvements for non-standard verification script support. That's in wallets, in RPCs, and basically everywhere verification scripts are being used. By non-standard verification scripts, I mean anything that doesn't look like standard signature or multi-signature script. N3 allows to use just about anything in its verification scripts, and it's a very powerful feature of the N3 protocol, but using these scripts is not exactly convenient, I would say. While possible, you will have some problems if you were to try to estimate network fees for them. You're gonna have some problems if you were to try to have an account in a wallet that uses these scripts. So there are obstacles on the ways to use these scripts. We are going to be eliminating these scripts and make support for some subsets of these scripts really first class. Another area where we expect to see some improvements really soon is smart contract parsing. We're going to be providing a framework for that. We noticed that there are a lot of applications that need this, like NeoFS itself. It has some need to parse the entry scripts for transactions to make some decisions based on what's inside these scripts, like what implications this transaction does it pass parameters correctly, what are the parameters. So to really make this more convenient, even though it was also really possible since like forever, you can create some context, some extract instructions and go over them. It was always possible, but we want to provide some more convenient tooling for that to make it more generic and to make something that applications can rely on. So this is going to be delivered in some subsequent versions of NeoGo. Also, we now have some experience with NeoFS-based synchronization, and we want to change some scheme for object layout to improve the performance of it, both for downloading and uploading, and to simplify some management, because current scheme adds some substantial overhead to NeoFS itself. If you were to take a look at what's the object count for NeoFS mainnet, it looks rather huge. And that's because we store 4 networks there with a lot of blocks, and basically each block is one object. Well, this works, and it's a really good stress test for NeoFS itself to manage this huge collection of objects in public network connected via internet with all of its delays. Still, we want to have a little less overhead to make managing this collection simpler. So we're going to be doing that. Now on to NeoFS side of things. In the previous episode, I have expected the 0.51.0 release of NeoFS to be delivered somewhere in the end of December. Well, that didn't happen. And the main reason for that was session token work. It's a major protocol update that touches a lot of parts of the system, and so it required a lot of effort to really finalize and to test it. We have added a lot of tests for it and made also some prototyping with gateways, so we know that this thing now works. So it is delivered in the 0.51.0 release of NeoFS finally. As well as mutable containers that are also changed the protocol really significantly. It was not possible to do anything to containers before this release. Now you can change owners via the NEP11 interface contract provides. And you can change some attributes in these containers. That's a completely new reality for NeoFS. Don't underestimate how significant this change is. We have also improved our APIs in that NeoFS Node now provides synchronous APIs for containers operations for a lot of applications. That also a major change because it was not possible previously to know if your container operation is successful or not unless you poll for the result, but you don't know for how long to poll. And it was always a protocol, I would say, defect that was not really possible to fix until we got to the dynamic blocks that NeoGo now provides for us. The release was made just recently, so we are currently waiting for testnet to settle, and then we're going to be upgrading mainnet to it as well. Now that we have a new version of NeoFS Node with the new protocol API version, we have also updated our SDK to support new features and all of the new nuances of this protocol. Please upgrade to the latest SDK if you are developing applications using it. At this stage, with a lot of functional changes to NeoFS API delivered just recently, we want to concentrate more on internal NeoFS Node improvements. We're going to be improving performance like we also do that, but now we have a little more time to do this more thoroughly, more systematically. Because actual performance work always requires a lot of testing, and recently we were not able to do a lot of tests for that. But now we do have some time, and we're going to be improving some things that we already know we want to improve, and maybe we will find some new possibilities as well. Some of these changes will affect the protocol, but these are not going to be as major changes, I think. Also, we expect some improvements to be delivered for node operators. We do have some experience now with managing these huge containers, these huge arrays of objects that we store in mainnet, and we know that we need to improve some things that administrators, operators use to do things when they have something like disk failure or SSD failure and things like that. It happens from time to time, and then if you have these large collection of objects, it can be problematic for you to restart the node to really bring it back to functional state. So that's the area we want to improve. Now we'll talk about some event we expect in the nearest future that may happen or not before this episode is published. But that's the REST Gateway version 0.16.0, which we expect to be released really soon. The main feature of it, of course, is the session token v2 support, because this also needs some API changes for the REST gateway, and we are going to be providing them. But some of the changes there are going to be incompatible with the old API, because during the session token work, we have found a really bad bug in the old session mechanism that were affecting only the REST gateway. No S3 gateway was affected, no NeoFS node was affected, but REST gateway somehow misused these old session tokens that were only used for container operations, I should add, because regular object operations used bearer tokens, and these were not affected in any way. But then session tokens v1 were not really possible to use securely with REST. So we're going to be removing support for them. And this is going to be some kind of forced migration to the V tokens for at least container operation. But otherwise, we're going to be providing support for old bearer tokens for object operations, which I think is the majority of operations you do via the REST gateway. So likely not many applications are going to be affected. Still, that's a major breaking change. So please follow our updates and upgrade to this new version of the REST gateway as soon as possible once it's released. And now as we move higher and higher up the stack from NeoFS node to REST gateway, we get to panel finally. That's the front end for NeoFS. We're going to be updating it to support new authentication API for the REST gateway to use session tokens v2, both for container operations and for object operations as well. And then it also going to be updated with some panel-specific improvements. We have better EACL management now implemented there. We have container cost estimations added, and we also have better handling for special object types. It's all implemented already, and it's going to be provided in the nearest release of panel. Then we're going to leverage new session tokens and other features new node provides to give you more functionality. Like currently you are able to share an object via a link using panel, but this link can be used by any user without any authentication, which is a feature. It can be used for private containers, it works well, but you cannot share an object to some specific account currently via panel. This will be possible once we get it done, and we're going to be doing pretty soon. This is just one of the things that we have already planned for subsequent versions of panel, but we also have some more ideas, so follow our updates.